good.
Did you see
never
where
help,
they doctored the pictures?
No.
Somehow they cut West and put him in on a picture that he wasn't there.
Welcome, folks, to the wide, wide world of Wild Bob and Ronnie.
Sorry we don't speak Chinese, but welcome to all you Chinamen and Russians.
Right, so down, all you over there in the Ukraine, we want to welcome you, and all of you down there around Tel Aviv, that's in the bomb shelters. We want to welcome you, and we welcome all you folks that's growing your usual crop up in the mountains.
And all you Arabs, kiss our grits.
Right. And we want to welcome you to the Wild Bob Ronnie Show.
K-I-D-D.
Right.
And I live out on North Lake at Gulch Gulch.
Can't come out ahead somewhere now. No, I was down in the land of the six-toed cat when I told you.
Yeah, you come back and all they could say was CC, senor. But we want to welcome all of you on the internet. We're going to be signing on to the WLAF in...
I want to know when we're going back to Cumberland College.
Yeah. We're going to be signing on to the college radio station, the one and only WLAF at 1450 on your AM radio dial. So we appreciate you tuning in, and like I say, we will maybe step up the tempo on this nonsense here in just a few minutes when we get on the radio. That's the radio, you know. They turn your radio on and listen to the music in the air.
Take an hour for lunch and have to be retrained.
What you got there?
Oh, I got some notes I was wanting to mention. We've had a big week in politics around here, buddy.
I think so.
I'll tell you what, old Jim Slusher and Jerry Chattel, I sent Jerry an email. I said, you need to wave them documents around. Make a point that you had to document everything, and they don't. I'll be darned Wednesday night, boy, they was waving everything. They were holding stuff up in front of the camera.
Right. Well, you know, you asked a minute ago what we call a fleshman. I think he is desperate, you know, somewhat. He feels Western wants pressure a little bit.
Well,
When
had
he
his
went-
tapes, he could have been on this show.
When Flashman went around with William Beard, that made me sick.
Right.
Giving money away to the schools, and it wasn't their money, it was our money. You know, like they were giving their money to the school.
Right. Well, you know, Fleshman said that he's for Tennessee's Second Amendment rights. Well, we have no Second Amendment rights in Tennessee. All we have is gun privilege if we will pay for that privilege.
And I love what Ronnie says. The Second Amendment does not say Congress cannot inhibit. The Second Amendment says shall not be infringed, period.
Infringed upon. And if requiring you to not have guns in your, bullets in your guns, if that's not the ultimate infringement on carrying weapons, I don't know what is. That's got to be the ultimate infringement. Yeah.
Where's that?
Okay,
All right. Well, we want to tell them welcome.
we might be all right.
Right, yeah, we're
World
just
show.
signed on, folks, to the only radio station in La Follette. That's WLAF 1450 on your radio dial. That's AM.
The only one in Tennessee to say that's our time.
Right, it's the only one in Tennessee. You can discount anything else that comes out over the airways and just turn to 1450 on your radio dial to get the accurate, up-to-date news as well as weather, sports, and you find out whether Wild Bob is in jail or whether he's listed in the obituaries. So sometimes I get honorable mention in the obituaries. I also get honorable mention down on the jailhouse too.
And if you want to call in, folks, it's 562-3557. or 566-1450. And
Just
folks,
Call on in.
if there's anything I've learned from the Wild Bob and Ron show, and hanging around these two, as they taught me, is never offend an enemy in a small way. Let them have it with every gun you've got.
He's gonna hate you just as bad if you don't give it to him as if you give it to him a little bit.
And I guarantee you, we survived the Richard Milhouse Nixon enemies list, and now that we're on the Barack Hussein Obama's enemies list, I guarantee we'll survive that as well.
Sure we will. Ain't that right? The only thing I don't want to get on is Prime Minister Netanyahu from Israel. He will take you out.
We got 4 people here, folks, on this show that are definitely a thorn in the side of all the politicians and appointed bureaucrats of Campbell County. And when they do something screwy, we let you know it.
We also we don't have that much.
That make us all thorny?
Right, but we don't.
Mega thorny.
Yeah, we don't have as much of an opportunity to commend them for things they do as we do to jump on for things they've done they shouldn't have done, or they did it in the wrong way or for the wrong reason.
Well, regretfully, Bob, they never do anything well. That's the problem.
Now, we were mentioning a while ago that anytime there is competition in any endeavor, whether it be the school system, which is primarily what we're talking about, or whether it be ambulance service, which we have talked about before, and we will say something additional today, or whether it even be in the area of security for the people here in Campbell County.
There's nothing but decadence and dishonesty in local politics. They just thrive on their inability to tell us the truth, and their ability to do everything behind the scenes.
Well, yeah, but you know,
and to mess it up while they're doing it.
If you listen to them, we don't need anybody, but we need Mario Alexander, because he has brought us the automobile industry here. I mean, nobody else had anything to do with it. It's Lamar Alexander, and of course Al Gore brought us the internet. I mean, what else do we need anything for other than politicians?
Well, that industry down there, the one we're talking about in Chattanooga, right?
I don't know, he's talking about the different...
we used to have a real nice car plant, General Motors. We used to have General Motors Saturn plant in Spring Hill, and this state voted against Obama, so he nationalized General Motors. First thing he did was shut down the only profitable company they had, and that was the one at Spring Hill.
I never did understand why they...
Then he went after Gibson. They what?
Why did they close all the dealerships when you rather have 47 people selling your stuff and competing with each other to have 2?
The dealerships weren't union members.
I know, but I mean, if you're trying to keep a company open, that's about the stupidest thing you do.
But that's what happens when government gets involved in anything. I don't care.
That factory expansion down in Chattanooga, that they just came off with so many jobs or whatever it was, the property owners down there and the taxpayers, that was a $600 million project, and the taxpayers are going to pony up $300 million of it. And that's through the TVA, through property taxes, and all this other stuff.
So people's the one that always gets ripped off.
Just think of how many companies you could get going here if you put 50% of the bill.
Did you hear William Beard and David Young talk about our new auto plant that's coming in up on the super site? That we're going to be making cars in Campbell County.
I'll tell you what I'm thinking about, I'd like to put out there, you know, they've been on the air 2 times.
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row. Now, if they come on next week, don't want to hear the same old whatever, you know, we call it BS, and that don't stand for Bachelor of Science either. You know, it stands for, but if they're going to come on next week, they got a telephone. They need to take calls to where that you can ask them some questions.
Oh, they ain't no way, RL, they take phone calls.
But here's what I'm saying, why waste our time?
Why would they come on next week after the election?
No, they're on Tuesday.
Oh,
They come on Tuesday night.
oh,
But
I'm thinking bus on Saturday.
You know, they made a big,
anyhow,
they made a
here-
big
here- here's-
mistake not renting Thursday night. They let Jerry Chattel, Jim Slusher come in the night after them, and boy, they have pulled the heat there down.
Well,
Eat
but-
'em up.
I heard somebody said that their kahunas were something, somebody said it's made out of marshmallows, I don't know. But if they've got brass ones, they ought to come on and take calls. And that way we can, instead of lecturing to us and talking down to us and all this bunch of BS, let us ask them some questions, and we can shoot that, about 90% of what they say, we can shoot it plumb full of holes.
You know, the
makes no
city of
sense.
Jacksboro is going after William Beard's
Well,
property
that-
because he ain't taking care of it.
Now,
But the EPA is going after David Young and William Beard for polluting the collective intelligence of the American nation.
okay, when,
Well,
But
they're still
anyhow-
ordering sand, they'll cover
but
it
anyhow, his property down there, it don't really concern me too much. The only thing that bothers me is that he voted or introduced a legislation in there called the County Powers Act that's supposed to take care of all this stuff. That shows a hypocritical form of thinking. Well, what he does with it ain't none of my business, I don't care what he does. But these your captains of industry, they don't care either. Now, if you put
Well,
it out
they just
there,
wanna make sure we got a good dog shelter.
yeah,
We're gonna be making Mercedes-Benz up here at
Well-
exit 141. We need to play that Janis Joplin song, Me and My Mercedes-Benz.
if they're going to come back on Tuesday night, and I believe, what is it, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock? It's 8 o'clock, isn't it? If they're going to come back on and they don't take calls, don't waste your time with them. And I've always addressed them young as the good rich idiot for
If
what
they
it's
take
worth.
calls, I hope they use caller ID, because if they let you through, their show's over.
Oh, yeah, if they do take calls, they'll stack it. They won't let people get in that can ask them a straight, simple question. That won't happen.
That's
But
right.
anyhow,
You know, we
the
had a
challenge
lot
is
of,
out there.
we had,
If they've got the courage they say they've got, and all this stuff is factual, they should have no objections whatsoever to taking calls.
we've had a lot of news, folks. We had a big storm come through, followed, and up through the valley, and tore up some homes in the valley, and Campbell and Claiborne, and one thing, it was a big storm last Sunday night. One of the things that it failed to mention, that the news failed to mention, was it wiped out the La Follette City Library, and nobody even noticed.
Really?
And you know, they can't find the 2 books that they had in that
Oh,
library.
no.
And you know, the sad thing is, you know, the highest paid non-credited librarian in the nation works in our library, and the sad thing is, those 2 books they lost, she hadn't finished coloring them yet.
I don't believe you caught that.
I believe all this stay away from me.
from that
I already got Hansford mad at me.
one. Stay away from that one.
Well, that's really sad when you lose the only 2 books, you ain't finished coloring them.
I'm gonna put a little plug in. I talked to a guy the other day, had the opportunity, knows the gentleman for years, Ralph Grant. I've been acquainted with, never had an in-depth discussion with him. And I had the opportunity at the courthouse the other day while I believe I spent 9 or 10 hours waiting to get a case to be on a case that's heard. But anyhow, spoke to him for a fair amount of time. And the people in the 4th District have an opportunity here to elect a person I think that will represent them fairly. He's a mature person, of course, got a lot of miles and years on him and a lot of experience. And I think he has character. Well, he does. He's got character, and I think he would do him a good job. Now, I know there's
Now, who is this now?
Ralph Grant.
Ralph
He used
Grant.
to be the secretary for David Young, didn't he?
Yeah, and David, I don't know how they put it in polite, except for words in mixed company, but they put it, David Young put it to him. Let
Yeah.
me put it that way now.
David
figure
couldn't
out.
stand having an honest man next to
Well,
him,
you can
working with him.
You can figure out what that means when you got it put to him.
You know, if we're gonna plug commissioners running, I'd like to get in a plug for Dwayne Mailman Kitts, 2nd Commissioner District. One of the finest young men you'll ever meet, and stands tall. He's a great employee of the post office. He's a good mailman, and I think he'd make us a good county commissioner.
Well, what we need,
Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz?
Made in Carroll.
That's right.
None of that German stuff. We want that locally made. Stamped right there on the door. Made in Carroll, USA.
According to David Young and William Beard, we're going to be making Mercedes Benz.
We don't want no color television. Don't make them careful. They make them all the time.
Hey, maybe they'll get one in here.
I've
You
said
never know.
time,
Never know.
I've said time and time again, I'm gonna say it one more time. If I had been part of the government that had let our income in Campbell County get $23,000 behind per
Below the
household,
state average.
I would not want anybody to know that I ever had a part of the government that oversaw that demise of the families in Campbell County. Even La Pollock is going backwards.
Well, tell me something, Bob. The per capita income for Campbell County is just a little over $11,000 per person. Now, tell me something. Why should somebody work a government job where an earth meter needle never moves when you hold it near them? That measures their level of work. Why should they get 5 times what the average person gets? And then why should we get nailed for this humongous tax increase they're going to vote in
Right.
come
They're
next
not
month?
short on the money. They're still buying sand and pouring it in the lake.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, they got four new piles out there.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
They got
They might be
plenty.
buried
They got
longer.
plenty of money to help Jeff Marlowe with his finder's fees
Yeah.
on all this money we're borrowing.
Right. You know, I would be utterly ashamed to show my face in public if I had been a part of what has been done to the people of Campbell County.
And look at the leaders we've had over the last several years. And, you know, and they're all running for re-election, like William Beard. David Young. David Young has been involved in the city and the county, and he's put
20-some
3
years.
private businesses out of operation. He's trying to put the city out of operation. He put the county out of operation. Cliff Jennings is running again. He has given us the largest tax increase. You know, people making $11,000 a year, and he gets that much out of us for taxes. It's just horrifying what they're doing to us. You are totally right, Bob. These people ought to be ashamed of themselves.
I wouldn't want anybody to know that I had experience in running this county.
And Mark Wells is right in there with them. He's been running the school board for years, and our scores went down every year he was on the school board. You know,
Well, Mark has had some other problems too, which I'm not gonna go into.
okay. But remember that when you pull them levers, folks.
Right. So,
You know what
Who
scares
you gonna
me?
make mad, Henson?
What scares me is I'm afraid William Beard's going to pull it out.
Well, now let me give you.
I believe they're going to
let me
split the
give-
vote.
Let me give you my assessment of that, and this has been true on every election that I've seen here so far. Usually an incumbent has a certain amount of votes, period, okay? And William Beard's got about probably maybe 20 of the people who vote, maybe 25% or 30% of the electoral vote locked in, all right? All he's got to do is let all these other people, what is it, 4 of them running for county mayor?
5. We got
of them.
5.
Let those other 4 siphon out off, you know, about 10% apiece or something like that, or maybe 15, maybe even 20.
I'd say E.L. Morton will be right up there with William. I'd say they will get votes probably point for point. Fred is going to siphon off the deciding factor.
I like old Fred, but Fred's been siphoning them off now for, what, 2 or 3 elections?
You mean Ross Perot? Well, you know, I have to vote for the guys that I think will do the best job, so I believe I'll just keep them out shut.
Right,
I
all
don't
right.
get out of the
You showed too
equation.
much confidence then in anybody. Okay.
Hey, what about Ronnie?
Hey,
How are you?
alright,
Great.
I gotta disagree with you guys on that mayor's race.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and tell us who you're voting for.
Well, I believe Jack Lance will beat them all.
Well, tell him to come on the show, we may get to liking him.
Right.
I seen him on TV the other night. He expresses a good position. He really does.
Well, he's the only one that, I like to talk about what he can do and stuff, and, so, I don't think them other guys, Craig Powell, he's going to the house, he's run before and he can't do nothing, so.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to take enough votes away from Jack Lynch to help William.
Yeah, well, that's why they need to have, a runoff and have just 2 run for mayor, and then that does it all.
Well, neither party will consent to a primary because they like it the way,
That's what they need.
they like it the way it is. The
That's
party,
That's what they need, that way it comes down to 2, and whoever wins, wins.
the party decides whether they have a primary or not.
Yeah. So I think the people that vote are to decide whether they have it or not.
Well, the parties are run by the establishment on both parties.
Well, they're run by people like William Beard, that's
Yeah,
what
that's
it is.
right. He don't want a head-on or one-on-one race. He'd get slaughtered.
But probably would.
He got elected last time with what, 30% of the vote?
Well, that's what I think. Whoever got the 2 highest votes are to be the ones running for mayor.
Well, every time you dangle that $85,000 salary in front of people's eyes, you're gonna have a lot of people that sign up to run for county mayor.
That's
And
what I said. That's why I said they needed to have it where they have a primary, like he said, and bring it down to 2.
you know, I think a primary or just have the top 2, a runoff on the top 2.
Right.
Right. Well, now we did have right much voting going on here in the early election. We've got a record vote of almost 5,000 people voting in the early primary here in Campbell County. And that is a record, 4,945 people voting early.
Set that vote early and vote often for a lot
Right,
of people.
did that right. Now, those people will come back and vote again when the regular election opens up, they'll be okay.
We get another record vote. Listen,
Appreciate you.
we
Out
got,
of 20, actually out of 22,000 registered voters, that really ain't that high.
we
You know,
got,
you're talking less than 25%
I mean,
of the people.
I hate to say it, probably, yeah.
we got to do something.
Okay.
All right, let's do something.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, we're gonna do something, folks, so hang loose. Expect the unexpected.
Well, that wasn't what I wanted to do.
You push the right
Well,
button.
we've been in business here for 75 years. I've had 40 years experience in the ambulance service. We have a Class A ambulance service. Almost 22 employees, 22 employees that we pay for all on our own. How much taxpayer money goes into this operation? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. We do all kinds of ambulance service. We're rated by the state as a Class A service. We can haul any kind of patients. We can go anywhere. We do a lot of emergency transports, nursing homes, hospitals, doctor's offices. We go anywhere that patients want to go. We appreciate the opportunity to serve each and every one of our patients. Any kind of insurance you have, we're qualified to take it.
If you need medical transport, that's an ambulance.
does not require taxpayer money. They either pay you or they go out of business. Call Vital Care at 562-9370. If you can't remember that, just call 911 and tell them you want Vital Care. Works every time.
It does do that.
I'm done now. What's
They've
that
got,
number?
they've got excellent, tender, loving care service for you folks, up-to-date equipment, and they're gonna be, you call them, they're gonna be there. And they're gonna do the job that you called them to do. You know, that's like so many other things, you know, when the government has to compete with private industry, like our ambulance service is competing with private industry here somewhat, even though they have the lion's share of the business. It costs us money every year to operate that system. It costs money from people that never use the ambulance service. It costs people who will never use the ambulance service money to operate our ambulance service. That's got nothing to do with the fine people who operate these vehicles, who go out here and face this traffic on Jacksboro Pike just to get to the scene of the accident. That's not say taking anything away from them. They're great people. But the people who administer this program, they couldn't compete with somebody if they had a 59 Chevrolet station wagon going out here picking people up. I had one time. They broke into it in the middle.
But the biz came with it. But the biz came with it.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's what I thought. They started arresting before they got him off their shoulder, got him shoulder.
Sure it is. Broke right into. I went up to North Carolina, and I got ready to come out there, and that thing in the middle was almost dragging the ground. We braced it up and got it back home.
Folks, we have a great example taking place here in Tennessee about the dream of the political class is for total and complete control over our money, property, and everything we do as a society. Union County over here has experimented with online education. And over the last 3 years, they've had about 600 sign up. And the word's getting out what a great program it is and how advantageous it is to study on your own at your own convenience, dressed as you please. You don't need a note to run down to the corner grocery.
You don't have to raise your hand, you want to go to the bathroom.
That's right, and discipline is between you and your parents, and there's no truancy issues, and it's been a success, and the word's got out, and they've had over 625 people sign up for the coming year, and the state Department of Education has stepped in and said, look folks, you can't have liberty and freedom in Tennessee. We'll have to shut down your entire school system if you let that many enroll. Well, you know, if that's what makes people happy, give them their money. Quit taking their money away from them. Give them their money and let them enroll in this program.
Right. Well, I agree with you out there, but I have one point I disagree. Give them our money.
Well, let them keep their money.
Give
us our money. Give us our money.
Give us our money, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now look, you know, we could still be, you know what who the Luddites were?
Yes, they were anti-science.
And what did they do, you remember?
No, you'll have to joggle my memory.
They come out, I'm about sure this was in Britain, but they had this problem. They had replaced a lot of the workforce in the knitting mills with a machine. So the Luddites went and, their name not for Mr. Ludd or something, I don't remember that part, but they went and sabotaged the knitting machines and tore them up. Because they didn't want that, they put them out of a job. Now that's what we've got running the school system, a bunch of Luddites.
Good point. Excellent point. And that was Ron Sharp, folks, the brain of this group.
So let it go alone.
Well, gentlemen, people running the running for the office, especially the county mayor, they keep quoting about jobs and industry and all this stuff. Most of them are talking about big industry like the Goodrich whatever, and the car factory and Mercedes and all this stuff. I don't see it that way. I heard also made the comment that you had to have, or if you was under 500 employees or 200 or something, you was considered small business. There's an article in here, I see it everything, business goes where it's appreciated. That's where it goes. It don't, if you're talking about bringing in these industries, I don't see it. And it's the same thing like in Chattanooga where they're going to fleece the taxpayers for $300 million for this factory expansion. If you spend enough money and you go out there and outbid all these other companies on free, or counties or states on freebies, sure, you can get them here. Let's just say that we'll build them a building, pay their everything for 10 years. I believe New York is kind of hitting at that because they've taxed their business to death.
We could encourage mom and pop operations in this county a whole lot cheaper, and if mom or pop died, it wouldn't put us in a turmoil about how we're going to raise revenue. But you have GM come in here and they start building bumpers, and they hire everybody in the county to build bumpers, and then they quit using bumpers and they close the plant, and we on welfare.
Well,
Yeah.
The best kind of business that you can develop is like over in Claiborne County, the England family.
that's a
Bill-
family business.
Yeah, built that furniture company from scratch. Well, they're not gonna leave because that's their home. And that business is gonna stay there as long as
What
it's
about that
profitable.
medical supply outfit up there? What's the name of that?
DeRoyal.
The Royal,
That's it.
Now, DeRoyal is an international, now it's.
But it started up there, didn't it?
I'm not
It
sure.
started
I'm not
over
sure where
in
it started.
Union County.
Yeah, but in Union County?
Union, yeah.
Well, anyway, it starts out, you start some, but you still don't want all of your eggs in one basket. You don't want one big industry pumping the money in. Look what's happened to Alcoa.
But not only will they do that, but they have an advantage to make you do whatever they
Yes.
say. I mean, they can.
I'm
you
trying
might
to
wanna call
point
it-
out to Cliff Jennings, back when he, gave Lowe's 500 million or 500,000,
I think it's 250.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they doubled it, but it was a bunch of money. And I said, you know, why don't you take that money and get applications from local people who have ideas to start businesses. Give them either 100,000 apiece, 5 people, or take 10 people, give them 50,000 apiece, and get something local started. Somebody who's from here who'll stay here and not leave when the profit margin drops a little bit.
Well, whenever your business, if you give, what, I guess, it's hard for me to explain. If you haven't been there, it's hard to explain what it's like to be in business. And it gets so complicated. If you've got business that's got equipment, if you scratch the earth, if you make a flake of dust or whatever, you can't believe the paperwork that's involved in it. And the big outfits, they can do this stuff because
They encourage regulation.
absolutely. The big outfits wants to kill the little outfit.
Exactly.
But they can do it by having the government do it.
You know, if I could run for county mayor and get elected, the first thing I would do is I'd make sure I had a sheriff that was on my side and would use all that weaponry to back us up.
First thing I'd do
I'm
if you got elected, move.
I would declare this an OSHA and EPA free zone.
I might stay here, come think of it.
And by golly, and have my sheriff's department keep all the federal agents out. Did you know in Missouri, they have passed a law that if a federal employee interferes with the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, they have violated state law and will be arrested and prosecuted. Now, how's
We need
that?
to do that on property rights too.
We need to do that.
Right.
You know, but our politicians are too much a part of the lackey system, and won't stand up for the people, even though we're the ones that elect them.
Well, you know, a lot of it is ignorance. You know, a lot of people who are standing up for the Second Amendment have no idea what it means to stand up for the Second Amendment. In Tennessee, we have basically no Second Amendment rights. We have some Second Amendment privileges that we can pay for,
That's
but
correct.
we don't have any Second Amendment rights because the Second Amendment says the right to bear arms shall not be infringed.
To own and bear arms.
Right, and when you deny the citizenry the right to put bullets in their then you have made the ultimate infringement on the Constitution. So I think the state of Tennessee is in total violation of the Second Amendment to the Constitution. So when you say, as a Tennessean, you support the Second Amendment, you don't even know what it is. You are supporting the Second Amendment privilege, not the Second Amendment right.
What you're saying, Bob, I understand what you're saying here. Just what they need to do is not charge a fee for you to have to exercise your Second Amendment rights. I can see still where they don't want felons out here carrying guns. I can see that.
We didn't say that, you know.
No, I know, but here's what, I know what you're saying.
The felon has no
That's
constitutional
right.
rights
He's
unless
given-
that particular right has been
Been
re-granted. to him.
Re-granted, that's correct. But what we're saying here is we don't, there's a matter of principle involved when you have to start paying for a right that's already guaranteed you in the Constitution.
Well, listen, do you realize that the Second Amendment guarantee is firmer than the right to free speech or press or assembly?
And the right to vote too?
Yeah, well, there ain't no right to vote in federal elections, but
The state could interfere with the First Amendment.
the First Amendment says Congress shall make no laws. The Second Amendment says the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. There's no leeway for somebody to outlaw it.
The state
Unless you
or
change the
local
words in
government or
the media
anything
words.
cannot infringe on
Right.
it.
Do you know they come in a hurry leaving that out of the Constitution because it was so accepted in those days, they could not imagine anyone wanting to take your gun away from you. In fact, in Massachusetts, it was illegal not to have a gun.
Well, at that point in time, they needed.
They still do.
They needed the
You would be
civilians.
fined if you
Okay.
weren't armed, if you weren't carrying a
I think we're
weapon.
in more danger now than we were then.
Ask yourself this question. Like in D.C., of course, you know they had a Supreme Court hearing and they ruled in D.C., this thing's been in court for about 5 years, that you are entitled to go armed in D.C. And then about the second day out, they put a moratorium on it for so many days. I don't know whether it's 60 or 90 days. Because the police department don't know how to deal with honest American citizens going armed. But down in where this thing first started several years ago was in Florida. And the general public down there, the elderly people were getting mistreated, everything under the sun done to them. Until Florida passed the open carry law that anybody could carry. Now, I don't know whether they charge or not. Charge a fee. They shouldn't. Nobody should charge a fee.
Not vote and carry.
Okay, that's right. They shouldn't charge a fee for it. But their crime rate was going out the ceiling. They had no way of protecting themselves. And now their crime rate has went way down.
Every
puts a stop
time
to
an
it.
open carry law is passed in America, the crime drops significantly.
Well, what do you think about these poor little children leaving Columbia to get away from all the violence and they send them to Chicago?
But I tell you, there's more to that. That
Then
thing.
on the Cook County.
I mean, that's like getting out of the pond into the car.
Now they're wanting to go back home where it's safe.
Maybe that's the strategy. You thought you don't have it easy, huh?
The state where 4 of the last 6 governors are still in prison.
How do you say duck in Spanish?
You know, I lived in
And I
an
don't mean
open
whack
carry.
either.
I lived in an open carry state for 63, 64 years. I never saw anybody walking around, swaggering around with a gun on their hip You did see some pickup trucks with their gun in the window in the back, and I'm sure they were loaded, you know. But, you know, up here, you even afraid to ride around with a gun in the back of your window. They gonna stop and check you, if you see that gun in the back of your pickup truck.
Is that classified as open carry?
Sure.
Do you mean to have a gun in a gun rack, a long gun, is considered open carry?
Well, I guess it is.
I'd
I
be
never had
interested.
anything said against it.
These are some questions that we need our finest. We need some law enforcement.
We need our lawyer over there, don't
Talking show. Yeah, I can run it. I know this will be
Speaking
found out.
speaking of gun racks, how many girls in this part of the country lose their virginity with both hands on the gun rack, hanging on for dear
we?
life?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe we need to get on a
We
different
need to go
show.
find us a different subject.
Well, you know,
We
Dr.
can require ratings.
you know, in North Carolina, where I was raised and lived for a long time, to me, the open carry law was as long as it was carried openly,
Right.
you know.
Okay. That's something I'd never thought about, but you know, I can remember back not too long ago, well, I guess it's been longer than I think, that it was nothing unusual to see people carry their shotguns and
Yeah.
whatever in the back window
Well,
of their
I found that
vehicle.
lately.
Yeah.
I didn't know you wasn't supposed to. You not supposed to?
I don't know.
Let me ask you something. What do you think about these guys that are carrying these AK-47s into McDonald's and stuff?
That's a show. That's
That's an
and not
extreme.
just-
I'm all for it.
These
Yeah,
are
but listen,
They have the
Listen.
right to do it and should be permitted to
I
do it.
have an altogether different theory.
But these are actually anti-gun people
That's
that's
what that
doing
is.
that to bring bad
To give-
That's what it is.
publicity on the,
That's to give your other people a black eye. That's what
Yeah.
that's
That's
for.
the same thing as those rebel flag wavers at the Tea Party convention.
Yeah.
Plants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
plants. That's what this is about. If
They've
Well-
told so many lies on the Tea Party, it's absolutely horrifying. You know,
And that's the reason they've got these guys that going in these restaurants to have coffee and carrying these guns
Yeah.
over their shoulders. I don't dispute their right to do it, but what else have they got
What
to
are they
do?
proving?
What's the use? Yeah, the only thing they're doing,
in Israel and Switzerland, the greatest thing is to see a picture on the internet of 2 or 3 girls going into an ice cream parlor with their fully automatic
well, let me.
assault rifles over their shoulders.
That might be looking good. If you're in a situation where you feel endangered, or whatever, I can see why you do that. But there's a whole lot more goes along with packing that weapon and putting one in the chamber and unlock your safety. But let me show you. There's a saying that I've always heard, and I've heard it, and every time I hear it, I ask myself another question. These people always say, oh, I'll die for my country, I'll die for this, or whatever. But how many of them say, and these same people that go out there with that weapon, they're willing to die for it, they better be ready to kill for it, or they could die for it. And that's the thing that people never
I'll
look at
never
the other
ever
side of
forget
this
that.
coin.
Never ever forget that man and that woman standing up there waiting on a hamburger with that machine gun over her shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
We got another here, fellas.
all right,
I think.
listen up, folks.
That ain't,
Right. You have to push the right button here if we want.
Yeah.
that ain't even me.
That ain't even you.
Hang on a minute
You
here.
need a hammer for that thing?
What's going on? What's happening to these little children?
Whenever you,
While we're waiting,
Here we go.
Vaughn Digger Wilson. Been here off and on for over 30 years in the same spot. Pumping propane, doing repairs on containers, heaters. I'm the only one in the county that'll do you a repair on your tanks if you need it. I sell propane gas, liquid propane, and I've got plenty of competitors, and I can easily compete with them. That's grills, backup heat, substitute heat, grills, campers, motor homes, you name it, and if it's comes in through that door, I can take care of it. I'm Saturday, April 12th. They could call me at 562-54.
44.
What was it?
5444.
562 5444.
5444?
Yeah. Thank you, Digger. You have to go down and see Digger. He's sitting there waiting on dead ready. You know, the only thing that's worrying him is global warming this winter.
RL, something you referred to earlier was being able to detect or tell the truth. You know, the sole purpose, the wise old professor told me one time, the sole purpose of education is to be able to recognize BS, as you called it a minute ago, when you encounter it.
Right.
You know, if you can't spot BS like David Young and William Beard being on for an hour 2 weeks in a row.
Well, they read that stuff off that monitor.
Yeah, they had it programmed into the monopoly. That was kind of like Barack Obama and his, what do they call them things?
Yeah, so, you back it up here.
Teleprompters.
Teleprompter, yeah.
They had a teleprompter sitting there between them. And one thing about this show, folks, I've learned from Wild Bob and Ron and RL, they are the 3 greatest poop detectors in Campbell County.
If we don't know, we'll lie about it.
Right. We'll always tell you the truth, even if we do have to lie about it.
With this election coming up, the voters out there are going to have to make a decision. And a lot of the people out there, like Young and Cliff Jennings and some whatever, we know from past how they do business.
Now, let's don't mention the Oryx. They'll send their women and children up here to
Oryx,
jump
yeah.
all over
I
it.
don't-
Yeah, okay.
Anyhow, but whenever this county powers act thing was passed and some other stuff, I don't know what it was, it had to do with zoning. Cliff on his talk show, and he and I have had this discussion, he is all for zoning. He thinks the government should be in charge of everything
It's
you
all
do.
about control. Their
Well,
dream is total control over everything. And you know, Ron has pointed out over and over about private property. They want control of property. If they get that, they got everything.
Well, if they have control over your property. You've got very, very little say-so about property anymore. You say you own it. We don't have time to get into it. You don't actually own. No single individual owns 1 square inch in the United States of America. They do not own it. They
That
have a
tickled
deed.
Cliff and Bob Fandon to no end that they passed that 67% tax increase on their property.
Well,
Well, that don't show you don't own your property. You're right.
Let me show you something. Taxing it's one thing. It's like a right. Tax, you can earn money, you can pass it on, you can pay a tax. But I've emphasized this too. When you lose a right, you do not get that right back. I don't care what it is, you can't
That's
buy
right.
it back. When it's gone, and we never get one of our rights back. And
The only way is through revolution.
okay,
And you hate to resort to revolution because they can get real messy.
oh, I'll tell you, it'll come eventually, but I hope that it's a long time ways out there. That's where, well, some of the people who've been frontline combat can tell you what part of it's like. They can tell you what it's like. If you ain't been there, you don't know. You can read it in the book, but you
Well,
can smell it. But
there were very few, just a small percentage of the people living here under King George who encouraged or participated in the revolution.
That's
About
correct.
About 30% or less.
We just have to elect the mayor in this town.
When you talk about revolution, of course, I want to get back this year, this election, we're less than what, 6 days from it now? 5 days, I believe. It's on the 7th.
7th, Friday to Thursday. Yeah, that's the
Okay.
last day, and we've had 4,945 vote early.
Okay? These people that are running, they've had a chance, I mean, to come out here, come on these places, explain what they're doing. Cliff went on one time that I know of, and then he went away.
Never went back because
No, sir.
I think
He was out of measure
somebody
and
called him and embarrassed him.
He was measuring size.
Ask him a simple question, is what it is. But if you elect
That
these
he did
people
not want to answer. Yep.
that you know how they do business and whatever, it's kind of like it's gonna sign on to the same thing, and I've said this over and over and over, and I think Young, he may have been right in his statement that we're so stupid or dumb in Campbell County that you can get away with anything. Now, this
He was on
election,
tape saying that.
that's right, if this election,
Does that mean William Beard is really that dumb?
William
to hire
Beard
him as
is-
his #1 assistant?
well, maybe he's smarter here, but anyhow, if we elect these people and they start putting it to us, which they will, they'll
Big
put the
time.
shaft to us real
Big time and early.
We deserve it. We need to sit back and keep our mouth shut from then on. If we let them,
Well, now, wait a minute, I've been hollering about this for a long time, and I'm still getting short end of the stick. When does it turn around?
I don't think it's gonna turn around. I think we're getting fed. Whenever the people, these, just like Young and Beard, start telling all these things are gonna happen next month, just like you, Bob, if you get arrested, you're about 30 days from now, you get to go to a new jail. But then, they said in September the 1st, that jail's gonna be open.
Did
How
you
many
see
people-
did you
They
see
got
the
it ready for
picture?
me.
Well, no, but you'll be, if you want to go down as a guest, you'll have a new jail. And anybody that believes that, I'll tell
Did
you
you
what, you
see
can
that
sell them
fence?
snowballs
They're
in
gonna put
Alaska.
you behind a wooden fence,
Uh,
and the roof ain't even on it yet.
Well, this
Bob?
past,
Bob, it's looking bad, buddy.
It's
looking
It
bad,
better
buddy.
be good.
I am
You
concerned.
got your goats
You're gonna
up?
sleep out in the water hole, Bob.
Got your goats
There
up?
they were a while ago.
but he didn't say what year. He said September the 1st, but he didn't say what year.
Good point.
Well,
I'm still wondering about the solar
Let me ask you
panels.
something
The solar
about,
panels,
let me ask you something.
Oh, they claim they were making fortunes off that solar panel project.
Let me ask you something here, and then you probably have some information on it. You know, there's supposed to be a separation in the county, almost like it is on the other government level, between the executive, the county commissioners, and the courts.
Bob, that is Article 2 of the Tennessee
Okay,
State
all right,
Constitution.
all right.
Section 1 says there will be 3 separate branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial.
Right.
Then Section 2 of Article 2 says one shall not interfere or govern the other without express permission to do so.
All right, now, this is my point. With David Young being part of the executive branch as the
Deputy,
assistant county mayor,
yeah,
is
So
he-
is Jeff Marlowe,
all right, well,
so is Joe Coker,
well, I know that they're part of the administrative,
the
but,
executive branch.
but
yes.
they are not running for county election like David Young is, which he is being, going to become an elected part of the legislative, branch and still retain, authority under the executive branch. I think he is.
We need to file suit against him in Sessions Court
Right.
if he's elected and retains his job as #2 man in the county mayor's office.
Right.
I,
go ahead.
I got something too. I want to mention the solar panel again. Most of the time you get in these big scientific discussions, everybody comes out with a bunch of numbers and impresses you with how everything's going, and you just completely forget a little common sense. And my common sense, I think, is if they're so good, why ain't we got them all over the county? If they're so good, why did we just put them on schoolhouse buildings? Why ain't we got them everywhere?
Good point. I like the point you made that we will trade our rooftops for them to place solar panels in lieu of paying property taxes.
Absolutely. But let me show you, the other part of this thing.
You mean individually we'll do
Yeah.
that, yes? sir?
Yeah.
If the solar panels were a good idea, if they were profitable, whatever, you name it, anything, why were they not put up above board? Why was the general public not advised of it and everything up front? Why did they do it the way they did it? That right there indicates that it was a sham deal because the way it was done.
Crony
And then,
capitalism.
these numbers, I heard, whatever his good ranch name is.
David Young.
Yeah, that guy there. I hate to say that name too many times, but anyhow, he stated, he reprimanded Slusher on something about the numbers. And he said that he wasn't privy to those numbers, that Slusher wasn't supposed to have them numbers. Okay? If this thing is anywhere near what they say it is, why did they buck up and object to having an independent committee look at it and understand
Why would
it?
that not be public?
Information.
Yeah.
It is, it should be public information, and
Did
everybody
you
should
hear-
know about it and how it works.
You think that's a big lie? Well, how about the big lie they told about the guy who installed the solar panels had his architect dash engineer do a study, a performance study of all the schools to make sure that they would hold up this extra weight and still fall within the parameters of having a strong roof over the heads of your children. They did not show one piece of paper verifying that statement.
That is the point, that's very important. If this was done by an engineer, a licensed engineer, it would have been documented, the whole thing.
And why wasn't it given to the fire marshal when they asked for it?
There you go, that's the point right there. This thing, it stinks, that's all you can say.
David
It
G. Young
stinks.
and William Beard, I'll tell you what, it don't take much poop detecting to recognize their poop.
If they don't take calls, if they're on Tuesday night and they don't set their phone up here and take calls, don't waste your time with it.
So far as my record's pristine, I ain't wasted none anyway.
Well, you ain't
Let me
missed
mention one thing. You know, Cliff has been out of office, what, 4, 6 years? Okay? Well, he has got so tired of putting his hands in his own pocket that now he wants to put them into the pockets of the county. And just like he did in the city, you know, let's take just.
What happened, Bob, was the godfather of La Follette retired too early.
Well, let's just take one little
I believe the
one little
voters
segment.
retired is what it was.
Take one little segment.
That's
that
all,
people
folks.
can relate to.
Thanks for tuning in.
And